Showtime. All right, everybody, how's it going? Here I am live with Mr. Dr. Evil Genius. I think Mr. and Doctor are different. But Doctor is a gender neutral pronoun. But so
Oh
today
my God.
we were going to be going over the article that I read earlier, the masculinity tropes getting in the way for successful women. If your wife makes more than you, read this, that I had on the main channel. I had some thoughts on that, and I gave them out of my video, and so did he. So where do you even start with an article like this? I mean, my starting point was just the comment that I pinned, which is hearing somebody say this is kind of like when a guy says, "I'm too nice to get a girlfriend. That's why I don't have a girlfriend." It just seems like that kind of narcissistic, vanity-ridden trope.
Yeah, it's I've read many articles. You know, right before we went went live, you asked me if you sent me the article, and I was just like, not necessarily, because I see propaganda, because that's really what it amounts to. I've seen propaganda like that so much, especially in the last, more so. I've been paying more attention to it in the last year, but over the last 10 to 15 years, you could see where the trends are going. I want to make it kind of clear right here, right now, in the beginning. A lot of people are gonna, they're gonna try to say, "Oh, Dr. Evil is a sexist," and I want to make it very clear, I'm not a sexist. Reality is sexist. Reality is sexist. There are different advantages that women have. There are different advantages that that men have. Men have different advantages. Women have different advantages. There are a bunch of double standards in society today. Some of them benefit us men, some of them don't. But we cannot pretend that these double standards don't exist because of what the social environment is today. We just have to look at things as they are. So if you want to start going through some of the stuff, and we can, because you and I, we talk about this kind of shit fairly common, off the internet. So
the part that immediately offended me is part of the problem is many men don't want to be in relationships with women they perceive as smarter than they are. Because when we'd be in the gym and you'd be showing me somebody on Bumble or somebody that you were excited to meet, it often was somebody that excited you, not because of just the way they look, but also they said something that kind of piqued your interest and that made you thought this would be somebody I could have a really interesting conversation with.
Absolutely.
And I had that story in the video about sector math and other things. And I mean, you and I both know, because in your presence started dating somebody that essentially had the intelligence of a kumquat, who was incredibly attractive, and that lasted all of about 3 dates before it just said no. There's a large demand for people who are intelligent, engaging, and interesting. But one of the things that you had said on the phone earlier is that there is no demand for people who will talk down to you or treat you like a pet. So there's a difference between somebody who's smarter than me. For instance, that woman I was talking about with sector math, she acted in all times like, I'm humble, I don't really know much, here's just something cool I want to share with you. And then there was one person I remember dating that was smart but also very wealthy, that was saying I know you probably don't know what that is. And I stopped her like the second or third time, and I said, when you change the tone of your voice when you're saying, I know you probably don't know what that is, that makes me feel like you think I'm an idiot, which makes this an adversarial conversation. Because I've tried to do that. Like in my 30s, I've tried to, instead of just saying, I think you're being a bitch or whatever, I think you're mean, I'll say, when you do this, it makes me feel that. And she, and I'll see how you respond in that moment. And she looked at me and went, whatever. It's like, I know what merchant services is. Like, and even if I didn't know what that is, you could say, are you aware of what that is? Because I don't want to just keep talking and rambling. Instead of saying, you probably don't know what that is. It's, are we on a date, or are you like, what is this? I wound up leaving halfway through because it was just such a complete and utter waste of time.
Yeah,
but there's a difference between intelligent and challenging and somebody who is just showing off and talking to you as if you are a pet. And I've dated pretty much everybody I've had a relationship with has been someone that's made less money than me or been lower in the career than me. And I really genuinely hope that I've never spoken to them the way that I've had the way that person spoke to me. Just because you make less money than me right now does not mean that I'm going to demean you or talk down to you like you're a little pet.
Right. I want to respond to one comment so that people understand exactly where I'm coming from. This comes from Teresa. I hope I'm saying that properly. The comment says double standards is the right term. Not that women have advantages, because women advantages are barely an advantage. And this is an example of a person only being able to see the world through their own eyes, which is I never, condemn anybody for that. You can only see the world through your own eyes. But one of the things that I've noticed, and this transcends, the gender war and the race war. This is pretty much, or even the class war that you see. A lot of people tend to focus on the things they don't have. And so the things that they do have, because they've always had them, they don't look at them as something that should not be taken for granted. They take it for granted. So they think that that's just the standard. So anything that they don't have, they seem to think that other people have an advantage over them because they choose to focus on the things they don't have. So for Teresa, in her view, women don't have many advantages that she considers advantages, because a lot of the advantages that women have are considered to be standard. And since we tend to focus on the things that we don't have, we focus on the negative experiences in life instead of the positive ones. We don't really have a really great perspective on exactly what these things are. So, there are in our modern society, and it's not just in modern society. This is kind of throughout the existence of our species, our societies tend to not really care about the struggles of men at all. No one cares. Nobody talks about them. And when men bring them up, when males bring up their problems, they're told to keep a stiff upper lip. They're told to be stoic. They're told to, just grin and bear it. We don't care. So it's, if no one is looking for the issues that men have and that men face in modern society, then it can look very easily like men don't have any problems. But when we look at a lot of the issues that we have in modern society, and you look at the symptoms, you can see that there are very real underlying issues. It's just that we don't live in a society that's either ready nor willing to have these kinds of discussions. So I just want to make that very clear. I'm not here to bash anybody. Anybody that knows me understands that I keep a very balanced view of these kinds of things these days. At one point, I was going through red pill rage. I've gotten past that point. And I tend to see things with the nuance that I believe that it deserves. So I don't really want to get into a back and forth, with feminists, anti-feminists. I'm not interested in that. I just want to have an honest conversation where people are keeping an open mind, and hopefully people might see things just a little bit differently than the way that they've always seen them.
Now, when they said in this article, it's something like, Sonia Sotomayor considered turning down her nomination to the Supreme Court because she knew it would hurt her dating life. I don't think that somebody saying that is lying about it. What do you think contributes to that feeling?
I think that women understand that there is a genetic imperative to do what we were put on this earth to do, which is reproduce. That's what we were put on this earth to do. So, men have a standard of performance that we all must adhere to. Otherwise, we don't get to have our genes make it to the next generation. So a career woman understands that she will not be able to raise the children that she has. Because if she's, if you're Justice Sotomayor, you're not going to be at home raising your kids. It's impossible. You can't be in two places at once. So there are a lot of women that are making a lot of tough choices, and they're like, well, my career my career or family. And if you're going for the career, the chances that you're going to be able to have a family is going to be impeded, right? So, yeah. So, if you're at work 80 hours a week, who's raising your kids?
The other one part I found interesting in this article is where they were bringing up studies, yet when you actually click on the studies, it specifically says like when the salary is disproportionate, the relationship is less likely to occur, divorce is more likely, marriage is less likely. Mm-hmm. But it uses, like, the article implies that it is because the man doesn't want to be with that woman. But the studies were, in the abstract, at least in the abstract portion, is very, very clear. It doesn't specifically blame either party. It just says that this is a reality.
And I love that you say that. It's super important for people, because a lot of people take these conversations and think, well, this is a matter of, men versus women or women versus men. When we talk about hypergamy as a concept, for those that don't know, it really is just the female nature that is present in most reproducing organisms, that they're looking for the male that's either the biggest, the strongest, the most colorful, has the most access to resources, was able to create the best nest. And that's how the female of the species tend to choose their partners. And human beings are really no different. So, the fact of the matter is, with hypergamy, a woman's always going to be looking for the best deal. And does that make her a gold digger? Does that make her a bad person? No, it makes her a human fucking being. That's what it does, And I think that a lot of frustrated men who believe that the dating and relationship arena is unfairly skewed against them, you're seeing a lot of complaining about hypergamy. Hypergamy is natural. It's our job as men to achieve whatever it is that we can achieve, so that we can attract the kind of women that we want. And whining and crying about it is not going to get you there. In fact, women are going to be even less attracted to you under those circumstances. So when you see these women that are like super successful in the corporate world, they're not looking for a guy that is super successful. They're looking for a guy that's super duper uber successful, because that's just the way, women always want a guy that's above her. She's always going to want that. And if she doesn't get that, she's not going to have the respect that, maybe we think that these guys should get. But attraction cannot be negotiated. So we can't be demonizing these women, saying, well, they only want rich guys and they only want guys with clout and power. Well, that's the way that, that's the way we reproduce. That's, assortative mating. That's just what we do.
I wasn't mad at all at any of those realities or any of what was stated in the article there. Like, for, you as a fitness enthusiast and as a professional trainer, I've never seen you with somebody who is horribly out of shape. Because, again, I imagine you're thinking, if I'm going to put all this time and effort into my body so that I can be healthy, so that I can look good, so that I can feel good, I want to be with someone who shares that value and does the same. I don't want to be with somebody that just refuses to read. Or, if I'm going to read a lot of different books and have different audiobooks on all the time so I can learn, I wouldn't want to be with somebody that doesn't do that. So I can understand and completely respect why somebody that has spent 10 or 15 years climbing the ladder to become the CEO of a large company thinks to themselves, I'm not going to be with someone that bags groceries. It's not even a money thing. It's just we're not going to have that much to talk about.
Although men don't really choose women on that. Women will look at men based upon the achievements of men, because that's how we're judged, and rightfully so.
But let's say, as a guy, if you're looking at, let's say, for an appearance or fitness aesthetic or whatever, if you're working on yourself to climb up here, then I don't mind if you want somebody that's in that same strata. The part about the article that I'm not like crapping on them because you don't want to date a garbage man. I don't care. You have your own preferences. What bothered me is the lack of admission that maybe some of it is on you and your choices and your preferences, and just like condemning masculinity as a whole for having because you have high standards. Like that part is the part that aggravated me in the article.
Yeah, and I think that the article, and I had to look to see which gender wrote the article because I already knew what tint it was going to have because I see these articles all the time. One of the things that's frustrating to me is that when women have standards for men, everybody cheers for it. But when men have standards for women, then the world's coming to an end, and we need to talk about these standards, and we need to basically start telling men don't have standards that the standards that are important to men. And what we're seeing a lot in modern society is society is asking for men to choose women the same way that women choose men, but we're different. We men, we don't value the same things that women value. So, you'll see a guy who is worth 10 or even, a guy that's worth 8 or even 9 figures. And, she can be a waitress. I mean, we've seen famous guys marry waitresses. Why? Because she looked good and she was feminine and she was friendly. And that's all he really cares about because he's already out there already achieving stuff. It's not important to him. A lot of guys don't even choose based upon intellect. But having intellect is not what is going to make a guy less attracted to you. Constantly competing with that man is what's going to make him unattracted to you. Competition is the natural language between men. And if you start speaking that language enough with men, they're just not going to be attracted to you because most men are not attracted to men. So it doesn't mean that you're a bad person. It just means you're a bad fit. And, there are a lot of guys out there that say, hey, I'm a nice guy and all that. But guess what? You could be the greatest guy ever. But if you don't fit the trajectory that she sees for her life, move the fuck on. Just move on.
Yeah, one of the things that I thought was interesting in this is when you have, and this really seems to be like I don't even know if it's a new thing because the internet's really only been around for 10 or 20 years generationally for being really popular for news, is when there's a link to something and it's something implied, but when you click the link and what you read is different. It's like the article's already coming to the conclusion that masculinity tropes are screwing women over here. But when you actually click and it does link to a study that goes over it, but when you actually read that, it doesn't place most of the onus on men. It doesn't place it on either gender. It just says this is what's likely to happen.
I think I've triggered Teresa. I've seen so many, and I don't have anything against you personally, but a lot of the talking points that you're coming with, they just don't hold a lot of water. Those are just the same talking points that are used to shame men for being men. And I think one of the tropes that really get underneath my skin is the denigration of nice guys. Now, I totally get why women are not attracted to nice guys. I totally get it. But one thing that I have a major issue with is women pretending to know what the intentions are of these guys. You don't know who these guys are. You don't really care because these guys are invisible to you. You don't respect them. You're not attracted to them. And I don't think that it's a bad thing. I don't think it's a bad thing that you're not attracted to them. But I kind of draw the line at assuming that you know the intentions of somebody else. Because if somebody went to assume your intentions, it would be World War III. And so I think that it is important that if you don't really understand why someone is doing what they're doing, you should ask questions rather than make proclamations. That is my these goddamn spammers. That's just my
this is purely anecdotal, but the people that I've met that have claimed to be nice guys in any way, shape, or form often wind up not being it. Like the people that I know that are good people are people that are always kind of questioning, am I a nice guy? Was I good in this situation? Like one of my better friends who is the store manager, He doesn't assume I am a good person, or like ask, like, was that the fair thing to do? Did I do the right thing? He's constantly questioning himself. He doesn't. The people that come with certainty that they're a nice person are the people that scare the crap out of me, because they don't think that anything that they're doing is ever wrong. If they're nice, then I mean, what I did must be nice because I'm a nice person, even if it's kind of perverted or weird or narcissistic. And I think that may be what she's getting at.
No, I totally get it.
Also,
but
she's from Australia, so the water doesn't spin in the right direction.
Yeah.
They have kangaroos. So.
But I'll tell you that the vast majority of nice guys that I know and that I've seen, and I see it play out time and time again, they are good guys. They don't know how to express themselves because they're never given the chance to. A lot of these guys are afraid to date. They don't know how to date. They don't know how to talk to women, and they make a lot of mistakes because they think that women want nice guys because women say they want nice guys. So they try to be what the women want so that they can be successful at mating. And then they end up failing because that's not really what they want. I'm going to read this comment here from Phil Spunt. Can you imagine being in a woman's shoes? All these people trying to do things for you because they want to fuck you. How could they understand the pain of a man? See, the thing is, you got to understand that that's what we're supposed to do. If you're a male within breeding age, you're supposed to want to have sex with women. That's what you're supposed to do. But we've shamed that in modern society, and we've made men bad because they want to have sex. Everybody wants to have sex. But it's a shaming tactic to try to put undesirable men in their place. We want to, if a really attractive man like Dwayne Johnson or Tom Cruise wanted to have sex, we're not shaming those men because those are the desirable men.
I think it's weird when it feels transactional, and it feels like I am opening the door and paying for dinner because I have an expectation, rather than leading with my personality, rather than leading by being interesting or engaging or exciting or in any way, shape, or form. I am going to do these small acts because I expect something from you.
Because that's the way. But that's the way we've been doing it since the beginning of human time. Let me tell you something, Lewis. Most people are boring as fuck. Most people are boring. Most women are boring. Most men are boring. We're just trying to get through life. Right. There's not, 7 billion rocket scientists and heart surgeons and brain surgeons. Most people are boring. They're just trying to get through life. So, across the animal kingdom and throughout human history, how does the male signal to the female that he is a good candidate?
I'll try to give you an example.
By offerings.
Because somebody said, I don't know how you could expect to understand this as a man. And I believe that I intuitively do. And it wasn't until I started making YouTube videos. So I have a public phone number and a public address, which is pretty stupid since I never hid my name on YouTube. And I'm never going to forget this. There was this one guy.
You never thought you were going to make it big on YouTube.
I never knew anybody would watch this. But there's this one person that, like, you could tell he wanted to talk to me personally, and he would always call the store asking to be able to talk to. And I had to stop taking these calls because every single time they come in, it's 45 minutes of just some random fan going, "Oh my God, he's really talking to me," and it's always really, really weird. And just like they don't talk to you like you're a human. They elevate you. And I find that anytime somebody's whether they're elevating you or whether they are demeaning you, what they're doing is they're putting you on a different plane than you, and it makes people feel very awkward. It makes me feel weird. And this one guy was saying, well, here is, I actually figured out a way, like maybe I could map the data sheet of this chip you were talking about in stream. And it's not something I really cared about. It's like, I want to be here it is. And he emails it to me, and I didn't look at it because I honestly didn't care that much. And then he calls the next day and he gets mad at the person who was answering the phone saying, I sent Lewis this thing. He should be open to taking my call. Why aren't you allowing me to take? He didn't send me that thing because he wanted to help me. It was purely transactional. It wasn't about like, I'm going to help him and that's that. He sent that to me. He sent me something I didn't care about because he wanted me to talk to him on the phone. And then when he didn't get to have that phone conversation, he took it out on my receptionist by acting like a little bitch. And I'm confident that women have had to deal with this all the time. It's like, I opened the door and I paid for dinner. Why am I not coming up to your place? And it's weird because we both know that the whole point of dating is so that you can get a relationship, so that you could fuck, and so that you could go up to her place or vice versa. But
see, I gotta stop you there though, Lewis. The woman's aim is to get relationship. The man's aim is to get sexual access. And that's another thing in our modern society where we want to feminize everything. Men don't have the same goals that women do. We just don't. If we can get sexual access without the relationship, we're going to do it. Right? You will get guys that, want to have marriage and children and legacy, but a lot of times that comes later on in life anyway. But for the vast majority, of guys, they want sexual access, right? So I think that is his channel makes $13 a month.
Yeah, that guy just called me out as like, you must be hungry for ad revenue. That's why I'm doing this on my secondary channel that literally.
Oh yeah, and we're having a discussion that is going to get instantly shadow banned by YouTube, because any man given a man's point of view, that's instant shadow ban. You cannot monetize that.
That comment was straight up retarded, but like either way. But
yeah,
no, you're saying that men want sex, so it's obvious that's what they want. So why is it bad? But it feels weird, and I can't explain it because I lack the vocabulary and the psychological knowledge to understand it. It feels weird when somebody says, I'm giving you this, and you kind of know that the only reason they're doing it is because they want something else. Like when somebody sends me that thing that I don't need. There's many times that's happened where it's like, I know you want something out of me. I don't know what it is yet. And it feels really weird. And then when they don't get it and they expect to get it later, they lash out, and it just feels so disgusting. Like I just want to take a shower every single time that happens. And they're not even looking for sex. It's just like they want to, I don't know, be my friend or something. And it's just,
well, let me ask you this. I got to ask you this because I just got this thought hearing you talk.
It feels like you snuck in. That's what it is. It feels like they're trying to sneak in through a back door of some sort. Pause. But you get it just feels.
Now we're having the fun discussion. Let me ask you a question. Do you think that our economy is capitalist, or do you think that our society is capitalist?
I think the society is capitalist.
So if our society is capitalist, why would you expect people to operate from any place other than what I can get out of you for the least amount of effort and or resources? Because that's how our economy runs.
I think that in that case, you're talking about an upfront exchange of something for something else versus an implication
bleeds into
that I'm
everything.
Get it because of this.
No, it bleeds into everything, Lewis.
No, because in a capitalist society, you're talking about here's the price, here's what you get. In here, there's he's trying to get around the conversation. I think that's what it is. It's like, I paid for dinner, therefore I expect sex, instead of being able to actually have a conversation that leads to the romantic, prerequisites necessary for somebody to feel comfortable having sex with you. They're trying to do an end run around it. And I think that's what makes it disgusting.
I think I would be careful not to moralize it, because wanting sex is not a good or a bad thing. It's just a thing. And
I don't think it's bad. What I'm saying is I think it's bad when somebody is somewhat disingenuous about the way in which they are looking to achieve it. The stereotypical nice guy, I don't think, is the type of person that's actually going through all the prerequisites of a.
They don't know what the prerequisites are because they're invisible to women. They don't have the experience, so they're just doing what they think works. That's how we men are. We're looking for anything that we approach in life, and this is away from women. Anything that we approach in life, we're approaching it from a probability, not a possibility. We men know that our chances of being successful are extremely low. The most attractive men are rejected 95% of the time. So if you're just a random normal guy, you're playing the numbers and you're just trying to find some success somewhere. I mean, when you look at the virginity numbers of men and women, on the men's side is skyrocketing. The percentage of men who are still virgins by age 30, or just men in general, when they talk about the sexual access that they do have, the vast majority of men do not have sexual access at all. At all. And when you talk to women, and women are asked these questions on a regular basis, women just don't understand what it is like to be a man in 21st century. They don't know. And you can't blame them for not knowing, because it's really not their problem, right? They don't have trouble getting sexual access at all. A lot of people don't understand this, but throughout world history, only 40% of men have procreated. 4 out of 10. But 99% of women have. Women don't have to work for sexual access, so they don't value it the same way men do. Men have to work super, super hard just to be acknowledged, to have their existence be acknowledged by the opposite sex. You know, just to be on the radar, to get to the point of the date, it is a huge thing for a lot of guys. Now, one of the things that I've been noticing, especially lately, as I kind of try to figure out why we have these misconceptions of men in modern society, is that women are judging all men by the 5 to 10% of men that they actually view as worth acknowledging the existence of. So you're talking about men are cheaters, and men, you know, they're ghosting women, and, you know, they smash and they never call you, right? That's not all men doing that, because most men don't have sexual access. They just don't. The majority of men are invisible to women. The average man is invisible to women. So when women are complaining about how men act in these relationships, in these situationships, you know, casual sex or whatever it is, they're talking about the minority of men that have a lot of options. And what tends to happen is they don't like it when men operate the way that they operate with men. They don't value each man that they meet, because they know that another guy is coming right off the bat, because there's always a guy in their face. So what the other gentleman said is, you know, the pain that women go through, constantly have guys trying to do stuff for them because they want to have sex with them. That makes men disposable. That's what that does. And when women are treated that way, they're like, whoa, 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 whoa. No, but it is the minority of men who have their pick of the litter that act that way. And so those are the only men that they see as actually really existing. So they judge all men because for them, all men are all the men that they see. They're not thinking about the men that are invisible to them.
Well, how would you define a man that's invisible?
Average height, average weight, average physique, average earning power. They've done quantitative studies on all of the major dating apps, and all of the major dating app, Match.com, which has now been rolled up into OkCupid, Bumble, Tinder, Hinge, and it's the same across the board. Women in general see 85% of men as below average. That doesn't even make sense, right? You would think that 50% would be below average, because that's the way that we tend to look at these things. But when women look at men, women in general, to below average, average, and above average, across the board, women see 85% of men as below average. So when you're a man that is just trying to follow your biological imperative to get sexual access, and you don't have any real success, you don't really know what to do, you don't know how to talk to women that is going to get you the desired outcome, then you're going to make a lot of mistakes. You're going to do a lot of dumb shit. And when you're not successful, is going to make you, retract and withdraw. And that's what you're seeing from a lot of men in society today. They're just retracting and they're withdrawing. And a lot of them don't even want to participate in society anymore.
That's sad.
Yeah. And the thing is, as a matter of fact, it's funny. Oscar just talked about Jeff Bezos. Did we not just discuss him on the phone?
We did for quite a while.
Yeah. And Jeff Bezos is the poster boy for how women choose men, right? If you look at Jeff Bezos, I would not be surprised if he would be diagnosed as being a sociopath. The dude has no soul. He has no soul in his eyes. He appears to mimic emotions and emotional expressions. And when you're somebody like Lauren Sanchez, who's getting older, she's still attractive, but she's getting older.
She's kind of
he at the time he was the richest man in the world, or the second richest man in the world. He has since gone to the richest man in the world, and now back to the second because of Elon Musk, right?
That's a bubble.
Yeah, but again, like
No,
once you hear about the world's richest man, the average woman doesn't care about bubble this. They don't care about market dynamics. It's the richest man in the world.
Yeah,
And that's it.
I get your point.
Right. You know what I'm saying? So with him, everybody saw what happened with Leonardo DiCaprio, right? But here's the thing.
Embarrassing.
It was, right? But here's the thing. Here's the thing. Leo is taller than he is, better looking than he is, and more respected, even though he has less money. Right? So even though he has less money, he is still considered to be just how do I say? He's still considered to have more social cachet than Jeff Bezos. Jeff Bezos tried to exploit customers and workers and business owners. He tried to, like you said, do that end around to try to become attractive to women. Jeff Bezos is the poster child for that end around that you were talking about, right? But he didn't do it by trying to be a nice guy. He just tried to do it by becoming the richest man in the world. And it didn't really work out that well for him, right? Because as soon as Lauren Sanchez sees somebody with more social proof than just money, you already saw the look in her eyes. I mean, it went viral. Right?
Yeah, she was thirsty. That was.
Oh yeah, but the thing is, you cannot blame her. She's following her nature. There is nothing wrong with her seeing a guy that she views as more attractive and then giving him that attention. That's what she's supposed to do.
You know, because the thing is, Leonardo DiCaprio walks as if it doesn't matter what I'm worth. I know what I'm worth, and you know what I'm worth. Let's admit it. You know what I'm worth. But that's the thing I was saying.
But he ain't want no part of that because he's like, Jeff Bezos is rich enough to have me missing and get away with it. I don't want that. I don't want that notice. There was Carrie asked, would you consider yourself be pilled in any way? I would probably in the classic sense of red pill as just having understanding of what the true nature of the system is. You can say that. But do I have red pill rage? I don't have red pill rage in the sense that a lot of people would look at it. I just understand what the dynamics are. And a lot of men don't understand what the dynamics are, which is why they're frustrated. And that's where the red pill rage comes from.
I don't think I've taken any pill.
I mean, but you have tried out some stuff, though.
Maybe.
Yeah. But yeah, there's a reason, you know, again, when you talk about the transactional nature, again, we don't just have a capitalist society. We don't just have a capitalist economic system. We have a capitalist society, right? So I you know, everybody is looking to see how much they can get for the least amount. That's why Apple has a $3 trillion market cap. They have insane margins, and look at the economic plight of the people that make their iPhones, iPads, iMacs, and MacBooks, right? But that's the way of the world. It is the way of the world, and that's why I want to be careful about moralizing a lot of this stuff. A lot of this stuff is just human nature, and a lot of human nature is it's not pretty. You know, it's just the way it is. There are things about women that just not pretty in the way that they operate. And we already know because it's very well publicized about the nastiness of men. It's very well publicized. We all know what they are. But you know, we're discouraged from examining how women move in these ways because people moralize it, right? They moralize sex for hire. You know, sex has value to men. Why not monetize it? I definitely had to change my view on prostitution because if it holds that kind of value and you're able to monetize it, go get your money. Which brings me, and I'm sorry for droning on, I really want to address this question, all the way up. Sorry, I got to scroll because I don't want to leave people who are asking me questions. I don't want to just leave you fucked up. Wes C-W. His question was, what are your thoughts on e-girls in the simp army? They are, it's a symptom of a major problem. We have a massive imbalance in the sexual marketplace, right? So the thing is, you have a bunch of guys who have more money than experience. They're invisible. They go to work every day. No one cares. Their boss doesn't treat them well unless you work at Rossman Repair Group. If you don't work at Rossman Repair Group, you're probably not being treated well by your employer.
You're definitely not being treated well.
You're constantly denigrated in mass media. All of the tropes that are about you are negative. All of the stereotypes are negative. Then you go into gaming, and there's some more negative things about you playing video games. There's always something negative about you, right? And then you see an attractive woman, and you type a comment into a field, and then she recognizes you, and that's the first time. Now, of course, she wants you to donate, right? You want to talk about transaction, right? Right?
Yeah.
She wants the attention and the money. But notice how women are generally not demonized for the transactional nature of how they approach us, but we are demonized because we're all socialized to be biased against men. And men are biased against women, women are biased against men, and it's always been that way.
Particularly different. I would push back there and say that, like, streaming, there's something different about it, because whether it's a guy that's streaming and reads your comments, or whether it's a woman that's streaming and reads your comments, that feels fundamentally different than somebody
absolutely
opening a door with the expectation that there's sex. Because I think the weird thing about it is the hiding the ball. Because, like, for instance, let's say somebody who's not considered a quote nice guy, they may be somebody that actually makes advances over the course of the date, that actually attempts in some way, shape, or form to make it obvious that I find you attractive and I'm looking for sexual access in some way, rather than simply doing these nice things and then not making their intentions known at all, and then at the end of the day just kind of expecting to go up to your place and bang you. It's I think it's the disingenuous nature of it that pisses people off more so than the niceness of it.
Well, I'll come at it from the other way. If you go to a date and before you even order the first place, say, listen, yo, I'm trying to smash tonight. How many women are going to get up and walk away immediately?
Well, a lot, since you didn't make eye contact when you were asking.
But I'm saying, real, yeah. Like, again, we have all of this critique for how men approach things, but we don't even talk about women don't have to work for sexual access at all. They don't have to work for it at all, because and that's why they don't value it. But when you look at how, and I don't know if people understand, like, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, at the bottom of that pyramid, sexual access is part of, like, breathing and sleeping and all that stuff, right?
I nailed it because I'm a nice guy, Teresa.
Nah, but the thing is, again, but look at it also like this too. Look at it like this too, right? If a guy talks to a woman a certain way, and then another guy talks to her the same way, a lot of her reaction to that man has nothing to do with how she's spoken to, but how tall he is. A lot of it has to do with how buff he is.
I'm fully aware
how much money he has.
I'm fully aware that Tinder and Bumble are very similar to Six Flags, and that many sections of it have a height requirement. There was nothing more disappointing than being 4'5" and 3/4 and not being able to make it on the best rides at Six Flags that required you to be 4'6". And my dad looked at me and he said, "Louis, when you're older, you won't have this problem." But my dad didn't realize that Tinder and Bumble would exist.
Yeah, so let me set the stage for the viewers. I'm going to tell Louis Rossman's story for you because I was a part of the story. Some of you guys might know this story, but a lot of you don't. Okay,
this is a good story.
This is a really good story, right? So Louis made up a game called Forest. Okay, he made up a game called Forest, and again, it just goes to show you that men are not choosing you because of your college degree. We don't give a fuck. So just get over it. We don't care about your college degree. We don't care about the businesses you own or the amount of money that you make. We don't care. You care because you're supposed to. Okay. So we used to play this game called Forest, and it was just basically, would you or would you not? So there would be different women that come into the gym, and some of them you already know. You don't even have to ask the question because she's just objectively attractive. You already know where she places on the scale, and it's probably going to start with an 8 and working your way up. But then there are some women, from that 4 to 6 range where you're not quite sure, is that one your type? Is she? Would you or would you not? Okay. So there was this one particular trainer who shall not be named. I actually ended up matching with her myself on Bumble, right? And so I recognized her, and then I approached her once. I was like, "Yo, we did." We did match up. Oh, and by the way, how tall are you, Lewis?
5'6".
I'm 6'3". So I just want everybody to understand this. I'm 6'3". He's 5'6". That's like a 9-inch height advantage. So I just kind of want you guys to understand that going in. Okay. And then when I said it to her, she made sure that she tried to cut me down. Oh, no, don't think that you're special. This is what she said. These are her exact words. Don't think you're special. I just swipe right on everybody. So she wanted to let me know that she wanted to maintain the leverage that she thought that she had in the situation. But for me, I'm not single. So I'm not thirsty, right? I do pretty well. I do pretty well with, with the ladies myself. I have 2 here at home, and we have these kind of conversations all the time. Okay. So she thought that she was putting me down, but it's like, you're not putting me down. Like, relax, right? So some time goes by, and Lewis hits me with the "would you" and points in her direction. And I was like, well, because her personality had kind of dimmed her star for me. But she had a big old butt, though. So, you know what I'm saying? I may sound white, but I'm still black, y'all. Sometimes I like some of that ass. Okay.
White people, too.
Certain. Some, don't they say that Italians are like the black people of white people?
I haven't heard that one, but
I've heard that before. All right. So he points in her direction, and I was just like, yeah, I would, if I didn't know so much about her already, and he was like, he thought that she was attractive. I was like, oh, that's pretty interesting. So it was pretty funny. I approached her like maybe 2 or 3 weeks later, and I'm just kind of like, oh, by the way, one of my clients is interested in you. And she's like, who? Because she's already trying to figure out, who she's seen me with. But unfortunately, at the time, Lewis was the shortest male client that I had, right? But I didn't want to say anything, so I let her guess. And when she got over to him, she was like, "Oh, he's short." And I had this ugly ass look on my face, like, "How fucking dare you? Like, you're complaining that there are no good men out there, and you got a problem because of his height." And I went right at her for it. And then she was all taken aback, clutching her pearls, right? But I can tell that I got the wheels turning, right? You got to expand some shit beyond, just what a guy's height is, right? So she says, all right. So I kind of took that as, she was at least leaving the door open, right? So she was like, kind of amenable to it. So I went back and I told Lewis, I was like, yo, I think she's going to be expecting you to approach her, right? So the next time he's in the gym, we're standing at the front desk about to check him in, and she walks past to go work with one of her clients. And she walks from our right to our left and walks past us, and Lewis doesn't say anything. So as soon as she gets out of eye shot, I looked at him and I said, "You're a bitch."
No, you
So
said pussy.
you said you a bitch.
You just said pussy, and then you just kept repeating it for the sake of
Yeah,
accuracy.
it's like you're a whole bitch. And he was like, why? What do you mean? Why? I was like, she just walked past because I know that your head turned in her direction the same way my head turned in her direction. You want some bullshit. So he took that as a challenge. He immediately makes a beeline, runs down the stairs, right? Walks right up to her. She goes to work with her trainer. Her trainer is like 6'5" and like 260. Right?
6 foot tall and 6 foot wide.
Yeah, right.
Like 6 foot biceps.
Right. And he goes and he walks straight up to her, asks her out, and she accepts, right? So I'm thinking, all right, my man, he did his thing, right? Let me know, because I kind of got some bad vibes, but if he wants to date with a woman and I can be a wingman, I'm going to do that, right? I'm going to look out for him because he pays me enough money, right? I got to give him more than just training, right? So, so he's like, yeah, we set up something or whatever, right? And so when he comes back, he's like, yeah, so I took her to a Broadway show and a nice meal. And for most of the meal, all I was hearing about how white men are horrible. This is a black woman talking to a white man that is spending money on her and giving her non-sexual attention, right? And she, the only thing she could talk about is how much she disdains men that are suspiciously a lot like him. And I'm like, oh my God, I could not stop rolling my eyes. It was like a fucking pinball machine in my skull. Okay. And I was just kind of annoyed that she comported herself in that way. So I'm going to let Lewis tell you the next part of the story while I step away really quick. I can still hear what you're saying, Lewis. I just got to step away real quick. But you tell the next part of what happened.
We go to some bar right next to Grand Central Station that I enjoy. And while I'm at this bar next to Grand Central Station, hello, Oreo, you're a good kitty. It's just kind of a boring date. She's not into it at all. And I remember going into my phone and showing some YouTube video in the normal YouTube app. I go to the bathroom and I come back and she is infinitely more into me. And she asked me, does YouTube pay decently for you? And I said, it's a small percentage of my income because at the time I would get paid $500 to $800 a month from my main channel on YouTube. And that money was going to my main business. And when you have more than 9 employees, like, again, I'm not saying 500 to 800 a month for a, normal average everyday person is bad. But when you have 8 employees, $500 a month is literally a rounding error. So I didn't think much of it. This was the month where my basement was flooded at the same time that the CBC News piece came out. So when my basement got flooded, a ton of people were giving like $500 donations. So I had all of that going in into via super chats at the same time that CBC News piece got like 8 or 9 million views and just blew up like crazy. So that month, instead of making 5 to 800 on YouTube 4 years ago, I made like 20 or 23,000, and I hadn't checked my YouTube Studio app to see that yet. Well, what I didn't realize until the end of the evening is that she had went from the YouTube app to the YouTube Studio app and actually was in my analytics page, because when I looked at my phone, I was in the Studio app in the analytics page that shows revenue. So when I said that YouTube is a small percentage of my income, she thought that $20,000 to $23,000 a month was a small percentage of my income. And the way that I was treated and spoken to by her changed immensely in that period of time. Also, one thing I am pissed at Dr. Evil for is he never said she said shit about my height. I would have never asked her out. Like, if I knew for a second, because he said, okay, she may be expecting you to ask her out, fine. If he had said, oh, she may be expecting you to ask her out, by the way, I had to berate her because she said shit about the fact that you're 5'6", fuck out of here. I would have never wasted my time on that shit. If I see it, I have as much ability to change my, I have less ability to change my height than a woman does to change her tits. And like, I'm not going to judge somebody that is otherwise a great human being and say, oh, I'm specifically not going out with you because you're an A instead of a B or something. If I knew that she said that shit about the height, that would have been over. Like, I don't find dating to be Six Flags. I mean, if you find dating to be Six Flags, that's great. Again, you're welcome to your preferences. I'm not mad at you for having your preferences, but I'm not fucking with you. You're not in my life. But yeah, so I wound up dumping her over the phone. And then actually, no, I didn't dump her over the phone. I dumped her in the morning. No, the night before, I told her I didn't find her interesting. And then in the morning, I dumped her at the gym. And then later that day, she showed up to the store and waited outside for 15 minutes for me to come out to see her. I took her someplace and she talked for 45 minutes trying to get me to change her mind on breaking up with her. And I honestly never had the heart to tell her that I didn't know what my income was that month and that was a crazy anomaly or why. I just kind of let her think that I actually made like 20,000 is like a small percentage of my income. Because admittedly, I was just having too much fun, and I wasn't going to correct it. So I said no. I don't see a future with you. I'm sorry. You see the world through the lens of a Beyonce song. I'm not interested in you. We had about 3 or 4 dates, Goku Black. We had about 3 or actually we had about like 5 or so. Either way, I just said like this isn't working out. I don't want to waste your time. I'm in my 30s. I don't really want to I don't want to waste your time. I don't want to waste my time. I'm dating for marriage. So if I don't see a future with somebody, it has to go. I forget exactly what I said. It was something like that, but that drove me nuts. It's like, what the height thing was so aggravating. Because I wish I had known that from the beginning because I would have saved myself that entire month. But what are you going to do? Again, I could understand how somebody doesn't want to be with somebody that's as tall as them if you're a woman. I'm not mad at it. It just means that I don't want to be with you because I'm not the one for you. You're always going to see me as less than. I can't change it. Again, I can exercise. I've lost 7 pounds in the past 3 weeks. I can get stronger. I can get smarter. I can get richer. I can potentially get more mature, but I can't get taller. That's not happening. At least not in my lifetime, without lots of radically reconstructive surgery that will probably break my bones. And I don't want to do that. Ugh. I don't understand. You don't, Lightning. That's why there is a bar at the bottom, and you can drag it to the beginning, and then you can listen to the whole video. I'm not a good dude, Shadow Roman, but I appreciate the sentiment. You still wonder why the internet thinks you're a multimillionaire, says traditionalist. It was a month. That shit doesn't happen every month. Don't get me wrong. I'd be like happy as a pig in shit if that happened every month. You don't hit the news and then simultaneously have your store get flooded and a bunch of people randomly donate to you every single month. You don't make national news in a country every single month. Well, some people do, but I don't. To answer this traditionalist question. Another thing nobody ever factors in is the terrifying side effects of birth control pills. I've never been one of those dudes that says you need to take this pill because I don't want to use a condom. I always found that to be incredibly selfish because the amount of effort that it takes a woman to take a birth control pill is far higher than the effort it takes me to wear a condom. So me wearing a condom is not going to do I'm not ingesting chemicals into my body that are going to modify the way my biology works, whereas you taking a birth control pill does. So it just seems like in my opinion, and yours may differ, it just seems like a dick move. I don't I've never minded wearing a condom. And also, there's a bunch of side effects to birth control pills, and do most women research on their date by searching for their social media profile? I don't know. I tell women, I've usually told women, this is only something that I've done over the past 4.5 or 5 years. I usually just please, can you do me one courtesy? That's it. Just don't Google me. I want you to get to know me from me. I don't want you to get to know me because you saw a video of me screaming at a grate or empty real estate. Clinton, cut that out. Clinton. My phone. Height doesn't matter. I'm relatively tall for a woman, but as I use a wheelchair user, it cannot be seen, especially by others. I'm sure Catherine's not the type of person that would judge somebody based on their height.
Sorry about that.
Laura says, I have female friends who care a great deal about height. I honestly don't get it. I'm short, and a lot of things are easier with someone close to you in height.
Can you hear me, Lewis? Oh, yeah.
I took you off so people could see the kitty more.
Yeah, I just want people to know if you don't You can actually change the orientation where it looks like more like sideways rectangles, and then then you can see the background for both of us.
Whoa.
Yeah.
You have an arcade machine.
I do. You've played
it. What goes
it?
in the top and the left?
Is that what?
And what goes in the top and the left? Oh, just black bars.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So I just, sorry, folks. I don't think my body feels particularly good. I got the third Rona shot today, and, I'm just going to leave it at that. So my body is rebelling against me. So I had to step away. But it's again, it's a lot, it's just, it's really funny. I see, Catherine is here, and, Teresa, one of the things that I've seen, and, hopefully, maybe, maybe, there's, you might be able to maybe get a little bit more of a context by not just seeing how you experience you. I'm talking to Teresa specifically, but just kind of giving you, just an assessment of somebody who doesn't know you from the outside. If I scroll all the way up to the beginning, I don't think that I've seen you say one positive thing about men. Not a single positive thing. So if you go into it already having negative views before you even get into it, you're gonna find problems with people. If you have a negative view of a group of people and you think that there's probably going to be something that you can find that's negative, is just going to feed it's confirmation bias. That's what that is. So, but what Lewis was saying about her thumbing through his phone. Do you remember what she told you about what her mother told her after she told her mother what she saw? Do you remember that?
Remember.
Well, I remember, because I don't forget
memory
shit.
Hold most of that experience, to be honest with you.
She said that her mother told her not to fuck it up, because her mother understood.
Oh, no, that wasn't her mother. That was her friend who was a PR person, I think.
No, I was a mother. And I was just like, yeah, that's the kind of conversations that Black women have with their Black daughters. Yeah. So, yeah, so I just think that it's, kind of getting back to the article itself. The writer wants to make it seem as though women achieving things is what's unattractive. That's not what it is at all.
It's a vanity thing.
It's the fact that when a woman achieves something, she then starts to see herself as a competitive with that man, and men don't want to compete with women. We want to cooperate with women. We want a cooperative situation with a woman that long term. So when a woman makes more money than a man, she's going to have a very tough time respecting him. So if a man makes $500,000 a year, he may not be earning enough if she also makes $500,000 a year. Now, if he makes $500,000 a year, she makes $250,000 a year. Now she's attracted. But women don't want a man on their level. Women don't want a man below their level. They want a man above them. So even when they go to give a man a chance that's below them, especially economically, they're always going to feel like they're just not going to be attracted. And can you put Teresa's comment up there?
Which one?
Yeah, I want to make it very clear to you, Teresa. And there was once a time where I thought that 97% of women were bad. But you know what? I had to, and the reason why I thought that is because of 97% of the experiences that I had with women up until that point. Now, we know that that is not an acceptable viewpoint for a man to hold about a woman, but frequently women hold these opinions of men. And I can tell you that if you are able to somehow look towards more of the positive experiences, because our brains are actually wired to hold on to negative experiences. So one of the things I talked to Lewis about, and I'm gonna do a quick poll because he never did the poll like he said he was going to do, but I'm going to do the poll right here. There are a lot of times where I will have a there will be a lot of times where he'll say, "Wow, these people in my comment section, they think that I'm this and that," and I'm like, I go to the comment section and there's one negative comment for every 55 positive ones. And it's like, dude, that's how we're wired to hold on to the negative and discard the positive. That's how we're wired. So I sent a text message after one of Lewis's recent videos where he's like, "Oh, my content is trash. And my content is trash. I can't believe people watch this." And as I'm watching the video, I'm angrily typing a text message to Lewis saying, I take offense to that, because that is an offense to the intelligence of pretty much everybody that's in the chat right now as we speak, is an offense to me because I don't spend my time watching worthless shit. You get a lot of the more intelligent people on the intelligent corner of the internet knows who Louis Rossmann is. So you're actually insulting our intelligence by trying to kind of erase your value. It's not up to you to decide the value that you have for your listeners. So I say, hey, Lewis, you need to do a poll on your channel and you need to ask them, do you think, as a matter of fact, you guys in the chat, put a 1 in the chat if you think that Louis Rossmann's content is trash. Put a 2 in the chat if you think that he brings a lot of interesting topics and professionalism. A 1 in the chat if you think that his content is trash. A 2 in the chat if you think that his content is useful and makes your world somewhat makes your life a better life to live. And Teresa, I want you to look at all of these numbers, right? You're going to get a couple of ones, but they're trolls and we love them.
I don't love Paul Daniels. He's also the reason that Teresa thinks so many men are bad, because she's dealt with men like Paul Daniels in Australia.
No, she's dealt with Paul Daniels software.
Buggy software.
Yeah, that's what it was. If it was Paula Daniels, she'd hate all women. You know what I'm saying? No, but you need to understand that because there might be 1 or 2 negative comments, Lewis has it in his mind that people think that he's a bad guy with these bad takes. And it's like, no, there are people who are dedicated to not understanding what it is that you're saying. They're dedicated to it. They're here because when they're able to have an effect on someone as influential and as useful as you, all is right with the world. Because one of the things that I've seen in this world is much harder to get people's attention by doing good things. Is much easier to get attention by drumming up negative energy, right? So I tried to help Lewis get laid. I tried. And that's why I didn't tell you about the height thing, because I thought that you'd be able to seal that deal. But
I'll take a box of tissues over her any day. Yeah.
NZK, we're not going to talk about that. I asked him the same question and he explained it to me and it makes sense. And that's all we're going to say about the apology video. We're not going to discuss that.
There are unfortunately political forces at play there, and I needed
Just let it rock. Let it rock. Because I got on that ass when I saw that video. Like, the fuck? He was like, nope, I needed to do this. And I was like, okay, I got you. So I think that today's women need to understand there are not plenty of women that don't care about height. There aren't. They're in the minority.
Oreo.
They're the outliers. They're the outliers. Okay.
You drool so much.
You know, we're going to always get women that say, I don't care about height because they don't want to look bad. Right. And the thing is, women are always expected to be demure. Right. Women are expected to say that they don't desire sex. Women are expected to say that they're not just after a man's money, even when they are. OK. And I think it's because we do too much moralizing of what people are attracted to. You cannot negotiate attraction. And let me tell you guys out there, so that you don't get lumped in with the nice guy, because most of you guys are nice. Most of you guys are good. You're misunderstood. And I know it because I used to be you. OK. Understand something. You are never going to be able to convince a woman who is not attracted to you to be attracted to you. She never will. And that does not make her a bad person. It's just that she doesn't value you. You don't hold the value in her life that she's seeking. And that does not make her a bad person. Okay, I'm going to be putting up a video on my podcast talking about that very concept tomorrow or the next day. You know, she's not a bad person because she's not attracted to you. She can't force it. And neither should you be forcing it. If there is a woman out there and if there is a woman out there and she's not into you, don't waste your fucking time. Do not be giving away your non-sexual attention. Just don't do it. Because at that point, when you keep trying to push the issue, now you become a manipulator. At that point, you now are on the road towards being a bad guy.
Sonny, you're a very nice guy. I've never met somebody that's given away that much money to a woman they spent that little time with.
No, see, Laura, put up Laura's comment. A woman is always going to value a man's non-sexual attention, always. Because women, their currency is attention. When women don't get attention, they get very upset. Understand this, right? Men and women cannot be friends. Because if you're an attractive woman or just an average woman, if you're of average attractiveness within breeding age, all your male friends want to have sex with you, all of them, 100% of them. If you call them up and say, "Yo, I'm kind of feeling that itch down below," like Biggie said over 25 years ago, they're not going to say no to you. The answer is always going to be yes.
There's one piece of pushback I'd give there. And there's this one, I don't have a citation for this, and I really hope somebody finds it. But there was a study done a long time ago where they had people smell the t-shirts of different men and different women just to see like how they would be attracted to them. And there was some, I forget what it was, something genetically or something in the blood. I forget exactly what it was because I'm an idiot, but it was something that matched them. And when something matched them, they would say, "This t-shirt smells like it's my brother's." And then when something didn't match, they'd say, "Oh, this smells like it's my, this smells hot. This, maybe this guy's sexy or something." And I think that there's some sort of chemical element to whether or not you would actually want to, or some sort of pheromonal element to whether or not you'd actually want to be with somebody. And I wish I remember exactly what this is because I remember reading it a few years ago.
How are you pushing back on what I said? You just repeated what I said in biochemistry
it's not
form.
Attractiveness, because you're saying if the woman's hot. Somebody could be somewhat attractive or even average, and you have no interest in having sex with them simply because of that biochemical thing. Because there's one woman I know.
That's an outlier thing. The average guy, if a woman says yes, that sexual access that you get none of, I'm going to give you some. He doesn't care. He's gonna try to smash.
Like my friend's wife, she's attractive, but I've never even remotely thought about hitting on her. And it was just like I knew her.
Well, you don't want to fight her man.
No, but I knew her for 2 years before she was hooked up with him, and I kind of like repeatedly kind of pushed her to pursue a relationship with him because I saw there was potential there. And objectively,
wait, you talking about one of your ex-employees or somebody else?
Objectively, let's keep it out of specifics because there's a lot of weird fucking stalker people here. Objectively, I can see that you're attractive, but like I never felt myself even remotely looking to act on it.
You're also an outlier.
I don't think
if getting to 1.7 million subscribers with your dry ass fucking delivery hasn't taught you anything, you're the outlier of all outliers. I'm talking about the majority of people.
I'm talking about the majority of people likely work based on that. Like there are people that you are or are not going to find attractive. And I'll have to find this study so I can prove you wrong.
Yes, there are going to be certain things that you're going to find more attractive as far as facial symmetry, the different ways that men, women find very specific things about the male anatomy, the breadth of the shoulders, the ratio of cheekbone to jawbone, all that kind of stuff. And of course, guys are looking at, other physical markers. We care about facial symmetry a little bit more than women do on an instinctual level. But yeah, Laura, they're lying to you. I hate to break it to you, Laura. They're lying to you.
I would disagree.
Unless you're 400 pounds, unless you're like 400 pounds. If you're of at least active attractiveness and in breeding age, they're lying to you. And some of them may be trying to do that end around that Lewis was talking about before. Guys are going to tell you what they think you want to hear.
I don't think that's all of them, because there are some women that I've known that are not ugly, but I like legit, even if I was stuck in a prison cell with you, I'm just not banging you.
Well, that's how I felt about that chick that you liked, but only after there was some other cue that made me not attracted to her. And then I started to see some of her physical, imperfections after I got a whiff of her personality.
I do agree with you on the concept that there are probably many men that claim they're friends with somebody that kind of really would want to bang them. That's definitely true. But there's also some women that are objectively attractive that I genuinely have zero interest. Like, even if I was free, if you were willing, if I was willing, if it feels like you're fucking your sister. For lack of a better way to put it.
It's kind of like the Hollywood starlet, right? Like when everybody thought that they wanted to smash Megan Fox, I'm like, nah, I'm good. I wasn't really into Megan Fox, but I can see why 99% of heterosexual men are going to hit it any way that she would allow it. But again, even though I cannot say that she's not fuckable, because I wouldn't, because I know that I am in the extreme minority. So I'm not going to judge the whole playing field by the outliers. And we do get a little bit too much into the weeds. A lot of times when we talk about these things, we're like, hey, the thing is that we work on generalizations. That's what we work on. When Louis Rossmann decided to repair MacBooks, he had to decide which would be the most profitable way to go and the most amount of people that he would be able to help. So if he got to learn all of the different MacBooks, that means he would not have to get to know all of the different board configurations of all of the different Windows OEMs, right? So we work on probability, not possibility. And yes, there's always going to be an outlier. One of the women in the chat said she did not find Dwayne Johnson attractive. The fact of the matter is, Dwayne Johnson can have sex for the rest of his life with a different woman with no problem if he wanted to, because the vast majority of women are going to say that guy, he's pre-selected. Somebody said something about the frauds in Florida, and I want to make this really, really clear. The frauds in Florida said a lot of true things, and they set a lot of the conversations that we men have been trying to have, because men have been shut out of public discourse for about 50 years. The bad thing about the frauds in Florida is that they say a lot of true things, but because they're disgusting people. And if you want to talk about what a misogynist is, look no further than Myron Gaines. Okay, you want to look at misogyny, there's A1. And then you got the fraud, the short fraud that sits across the table from him. One of the worst things to happen to this conversation was those two. Because
I'm missing something here.
They were talking. I don't say the name because I don't want to give them any. I don't want to say the name of the show. I don't want to say the name of their show. I don't want to give them any more clout. I don't want people going over there looking for them. They're just the frauds in Florida. Okay. They say a lot of things that are actually true, and it actually hurts the conversation because what they're saying on the surface is true. But the way that they live their lives and the way that they treat women is so fucking disgusting that we can't get, they're inhibiting the conversation. And also, let me be clear, Sonny. I'm not comparing dating women to fixing MacBooks. There's a principle here so that people can understand concepts. We take things that are not like other things so that we can make sure that the point comes across, because we're talking about concepts here. We're talking about the fact that men mainly deal with probability, not possibility. So the way that we choose what we do for a living is on the highest probability that we can make the most money. When we go out in the street and we're checking out every corner and making sure that, we see everybody in a 2-block radius, because we're looking for the probability that somebody might assault us. Because most people don't know that a man is 6 times more likely to be assaulted on the street than a woman. Most people don't know that because, we don't talk about those things. But when I go out in the street, I'm paying attention to everybody that's on my block, on the other side of the street, on the block ahead and the block behind. Nobody sneaks up on me. Because I'm always trying to stamp out, I'm always looking for the probability that somebody could be a threat. That's how the male mind thinks. So when we go into the dating world, we don't just leave that analytical mind. We don't just leave that numbers game. We don't just leave that, oh no, we're just dealing with women. This is so much different than regular life. No, we take that into our dating lives too. This is how we look at things. And if we want to have the greatest chance of success, there are certain things that we think we need to do. And a lot of guys are wrong because a lot of women say they want stuff, but in reality, they only want that stuff from a tiny portion of men. So the rest of the men think that if they do what the women say, that they'll have success. But they don't, because they're invisible.
I think
the standards are not for them. It's for the guys that the women actually attracted to.
You were comparing that by saying that when it comes to MacBook repair, the whole comparison and contrasting MacBooks to dating was to say that Outliers does not make the general example true.
Right.
Because it's kind of like that saying, there's not a lot of Asians in basketball. Well, I know a tall Asian. It's like, I know.
Yes, exactly my fucking point.
But the point there, what I was saying is that I don't think that is the outlier, that people that are attractive may not have whatever pheromones are necessary to be chemically attractive to somebody else, so that I can know somebody that's attractive, I can be friends with them, and I can actually not want to have sex with them. Because there are women that I've been friends with in the past where, honestly, if they let me, I probably would. But there are women that I know where it's like, even if they wanted to,
you killed your argument just now.
You lack the understanding to say that you're saying that that's 1% of the time, and I'm saying no, it happens more often. She said she has friends, and you said in absolute terms they are lying without having any knowledge. No, they're not.
No. The knowledge I have. I signed for a penis at birth almost 39 years ago.
So
and we men, when we men are not in the company of the opposite sex, men are going to be a whole lot more honest. And that's why I kind of resent you must listen to the Florids in Florida. No, they've been saying the same shit we men have been saying for decades, but we have to say it in the locker room. We have to say it at the poker table. We have to say it out of earshot, because if we're honest about what we're attracted to, what we're not attracted to, then you're all kind of ist and obic, and they're looking to take your job. They're trying to kill your livelihood. So a lot of men are just simply not saying anything and just moving different.
But we're talking about percentages. You're saying that it's completely the outlier, and I'm saying that it's not the outlier. There may be women where you're like, oh yeah, even though we're friends, yeah, I kind of would. And then there are also a lot of women where it's like, I wouldn't even if you wanted to. And you may be attractive simply because there is no chemical compatibility. there's something else to it other than just
Well,
simply
we
you're hot
men
and
don't
they're breathing
rely
on
on chemicals as much as women do. Women, they really respond to pheromones. That's why, a lot of times when you see a woman and the woman's like, hey, that guy smells good. And, he might have one eye here and then one eye up here. But if he smells good, he's got a better shot. Like women definitely rely on, we're more visual. Men are more visual. We see a shape that we like, we're going in that direction 99 out of 100% of the time.
I can't click.
So
maybe Canadian people are different.
Nah, those. I'll look up those numbers, but I'm pretty sure that they're going by some other. I'm talking about just like a flat comparison of just assaults on the street. But the numbers that she put up there, when it comes to domestic violence, those numbers are accurate for domestic violence.
What is it that causes somebody who is somewhat attractive to be perceived as a sister or a cousin by your brain instead of somebody that you would bang if they made themselves available to you? Because this has happened enough times to me where I'm not lying to myself. I know that even if that person took their clothes off in front of me, I was single, I was drunk, I wouldn't do it because it just seemed weird. And I think that that's what Laura was referring to. There are men like that where they view you in some way, shape, or form as a sister, and there's just no way they could enter in their head.
The only things that I could ever think are if you know somebody that she's already been intimate with, and it throws you off. Or, you heard some kind of, some rumors about how she moves through the world. Or sometimes it's, you kind of get a whiff of her personality and you're like turned off. And then it doesn't even matter what she looks like at that point. Once she's opened her mouth, some guys, a lot of guys are like that. So like, for instance, the woman that we were talking about earlier, I found her to be physically attractive, and I started to notice more of her physical imperfections after I had a couple of conversations with her. Then the attraction died completely. Like I looked at her, I'm just like, sometimes like I feel bad, like I was attracted to you. Like what was I thinking? But it was the experience that I had of dealing with her. It's just what it is. But the thing is, I just think that, Laura, I applaud you for being a really good, I applaud you for, being a good wing, what do you call it? Wing girl, wing friend? I don't know. But I got to tell you, you're not going to get multiple men that are like, nah, given the chance, I'm not doing it. If you're physically attractive, and I don't mean by women's standards of what other women are, right? I'm talking about the way men look at women. If you've got what men are generally looking for, and you give them the access, they're going to take it. And that's just what it is. And
where can people find your channel? Because you have a podcast show that you do regularly.
I'm all over the place, y'all. I'm all over the place. Can
you paste the link here? Because I told every time I Google it, I can't find it and I forget the URL.
Yeah, I remember. So I know that you're the king of Bitly. My first lady, Mrs. Eva, she created a Bitly for TSP. April Generic is absolutely right. I'm talking about the law of averages, right? I know that all of us are seeking the one. We want that outlier. Even some of us guys, some of us men are delusional. Some of us are not all that, but we're swiping right on all of the hot chicks. But we know they ain't swiping right on us. We know that ain't happening, right? We for the most part, we men understand. You know what I'm saying. Teresa, you understand. You definitely understand the concept that I'm putting out there, but from the opposite. You definitely understand. But back to the article, I want to make it clear that men are not intimidated by women. Men just don't want to compete with women. We compete with each other. That is the love language between men, generally speaking. We want to We want somebody that we can work with. We're not looking for somebody that we can compete with, because that's how we see men.
I've pushed to people that that have told me men find me intimidating, and I always say no, it's something else. Like,
no.
Like, have you said something in a mean manner? Have you been like? It's a very, because the thing is, you could say one.
It's the same nice guy thing in reverse.
I don't think it's the same nice guy thing. It's either
it's in reverse.
No, it's you could say I turned somebody off. Oh yeah, you're right there. I agree. Never mind. Like, you could say I turned somebody off, or you could say they're intimidated by me. Like, which one allows you to save face and ego a little bit more?
Right. But that's really what it is really, because the thing is that men are just not, some men, if you're dealing with betas can be intimidated, especially if you exude a lot of masculine energy. If you're a woman exuding a lot of masculine energy, and you're really assertive, and you're into a lot of the womanism and all that stuff, you're gonna end up with a lot of betas in your orbit, and they are going to be intimidated by you. But those are guys that you don't respect, and other men don't respect those men. Nobody respects those men. Okay, so
I got to get going. So where can
I know you got to get going, but I just want to make sure that when it comes, I just want to go back to the article. Women, it is okay to achieve stuff, but you have to understand that you're going to sacrifice stuff. It takes men decades to reach their earning peak. Men don't reach their peak, their financial peak, until age 45. The gap is age 45 to 55. So if you're trying to be a professional, and you want to go and you want to be at the top, you want to be at the head of the boardroom, you want to be the CEO, the CFO, understand that you're not going to get to where you want to get until you're in your 40s and 50s. But by then, men value beauty and youth, because the healthiest pregnancies are going to happen in the closer to 20 you get, not the closer to 30 or 40. So men are not looking for women for the same reason that women look for men. And when you get to understanding that, then you can make an informed decision. Do I want to be a career woman? Yes. Okay, then your relationships are going to look different. You're going to attract a different kind of man. And sometimes the only options you're going to have when you're not what you used to be when you were in your prime, in your physical prime, you're going to end up looking at guys that you would not have looked at 10 or 15 years before. And at that point, you're going to have a lot of problems, because you're never going to respect that guy, because if he wasn't your first choice and you feel like you're settling, you're always going to resent him no matter how good he is to you. So you have to, you got a choice to make, and nobody should shame you for your choices. And women should not be shaming other women for being housewives either. Right? Feminism is supposed to be about choice. Let those women that want to be traditional women, let them be traditional women. You feel me? Like, let them do their thing.
I got it.
But you do your thing. And we'll probably talk about some other stuff in the future. But traditionalists, he put the link up in there. Catherine made her decision, right? Oh, Teresa used to be a bouncer. Yeah, you're dealing with betas every day of the week, Teresa. Teresa, you're dealing with understand. We'll talk about but ladies, you have to make some choices, and you can't have it all. You're gonna be a success, or you're gonna have a bunch of babies, but only do what is important to you. Don't let anybody say, "Oh, you're just a career woman." If that's what you want to be, do your thing. And don't let anybody shame you into being attracted to men that you're not attracted to. That is like the biggest thing. Don't go on dates with guys that you're not attracted to. Don't do it. Keep rejecting them. If you're not into them, leave them alone, and make sure they leave you alone. And guys, please stop trying to, hey, can we just be friends? If you know that you're attracted to her and she's not attracted to you, keep it moving. Don't bother her. Don't bother her. Just don't. Because that's really what it is. Everybody should be able to live the life they want to live. And that's really what it is. But anyway, if I think Traditionalist, who is also a mod on both of my channels, I do the gaming on Dr. Evil Genius on YouTube. There's also Twitch there too. For the Talking Shit podcast, I'm the dude that's on the left, and my co-host Captain Paul, he is a conservative, and we have a lot of conversations. We do a lot of disagreeing with each other. We're trying to create a community where people can be free to disagree with each other without calling somebody a libtard or calling somebody an ist or an obic because they disagree. You feel me? Like we really want to, we really want to encourage conversation. We don't want echo chambers. Okay. I want to thank everybody that has given super chats. It's really cool. And I would love to see some of you guys come over. Even, Tedessa, you can come over there. The people that disagree with me, if you disagree with me and you want to talk about it, we're putting out videos and we're doing live shows. For you MMA fans out there, we do the Filthy Casual MMA watch party on the Talking Shit podcast, every UFC event, almost every UFC event. There's one fighter that almost beat his girlfriend to death, and the UFC keeps putting him on cards. So I don't really like men that abuse women. So I don't cover the events that he's on. But for pretty much every other event, so if you're into MMA, definitely join us for the Filthy Casual MMA watch party. And that's under the Talking Shit podcast. I'm not going to take up too much because this guy's probably got to give Blackberry some greenies.
I got to eat my dinner.
Mr. Clinton, he's got to give Mr. Clinton some greenies. And yes, Wes, I don't like Halo Infinite very much at all. But we'll talk about that on my own time. He's got to kill the eating gap. He's worked hard all day. Again, Staditionalists, can you do me a favor and put in the chat the Twitch and the YouTube for the Talking. We already did the YouTube for Talking Shit. But for Dr. Evil Genius, you put that on there. I really would appreciate that. And again, I implore all of you. You can disagree with me. I'm never going to judge you for it. We're going to have conversations. We're going to have honest conversations, and that's really all it is.
All right.
Yeah, sorry, Sonny. I'm doing all of this shit. I co-host Black Power Magic Hour, Talking Shit podcast. I'm doing all this crazy shit. So thank you, Staditionalists. Thank you, Sunny Days, for holding me to account. I appreciate it. The banter with Teresa, I respect your viewpoints. I definitely do. Everybody in the chat, thank you very much for hanging out with us tonight. Thank you so much.
Time for some food.
He said time for some food.
You guys get to look at an empty chair. All right.
Is that an empty chair?
It's going to be an empty chair. Make myself some food.
You want to call me on the phone?